Welcome back, everybody. Matt the Matt here. Hope you're doing well. This week, yesterday, the July 16th of July. I know. We hit an anniversary. What? We hit an anniversary. Yesterday was the 15th anniversary of Inception. Oh boy. 15 years ago, I went and saw this movie with my dad. I think it was on a Saturday or Sunday. We went to the United Artists at North Point Mall. There was back then when the seats, they updated the seats like a year, like back in 2008, right when I was graduating high school. They made the seats where you can recline just a little bit more back. And then the seats were instead of like a little bit, bigger, they were more like thinner in. But you can, very weird design. But, and that didn't last long because by 2013, they already moved over to Avalon. The same United Artists that was at North Point moved over to Avalon. And then they got the normal recliner seats that they have now. So those seats really only lasted, 4 years, give or take. But anyway, we went and saw Inception that afternoon, and it was just mind-blowing. I mean, talk about, if there's one director out there right now that can make original movies, big budget original movies, it is Christopher Nolan. This guy was just coming off of The Dark Knight 2 years prior, that obviously got a lot of acclaim critically, financially. It won some Oscars, most notably for Heath Ledger for playing the Joker. And the original plan was to go on and do another Batman movie after The Dark Knight. And they already had an idea for a story that was going to involve the Joker. But because of the death of Heath Ledger, they had to go back to the drawing board and come up with a whole new story. And during that time, our little boy, Christopher Nolan, said, hey, wait a minute. Years and years and years ago, I wrote this script. And he opened up this drawer. He pulled out the script for Inception and said, here, I just made The Dark Knight, made you a lot of money, Warner Brothers, even got you some Oscar wins. I want to make this movie now. And Warner Brothers was like, okay, you do this movie, and then you do The Dark Knight Rises. And he said, okay. It was like, I do one for me, I do one for you. I do one for me, I do one for you. And we got Inception. This is a great ensemble. You got Leonardo DiCaprio. You got Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You got Marion Cotillard, Ken Wannabe, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Ellen Page. Yes, Ellen Page. Before she decided to be a man. You got Pete, I forget his last name, Pete Passotti? I don't know. He was in The Lost World, he was the hunter in The Lost World, tracking down the T-Rex. Well, that year was the final year of him being in movies, because he was in Inception, and then he showed up in Ben Affleck's The Town in September of 2010, and then he died not long after that. I feel like I'm missing somebody. No. Michael Caine shows up for a few scenes. Of course, another regular for Christopher Nolan. This was the cinematography by Wally Pfister, who went on to win an Academy Award that year for the cinematography. Hans Zimmer's score, oh my god, the score for this movie, the one notable piece of music, Time. Oh, that music. The music in Inception is a character in itself. And this was, and as funny as we look at it now, 2010 was the year of Leonardo DiCaprio being a father. I know, wrap your little head around that one. Leonardo DiCaprio being a father in 2 movies in 2010. Shutter Island, that came out earlier that year, directed by Martin Scorsese, and then Inception, where he has 2 little kids, a girl and a boy. He's trying to get back to, it's comical. He's dating 25-year-olds still to this day, but there were 2 movies in 2010 where he was a father, where the wife committed murder in both of them. Suicide in both of them. Wrap your head around that one. In the same year, we have Leonardo DiCaprio being a father with his wife in both movies committing suicide. That's not right. And it's a great performance by Leonardo DiCaprio, just like in Shutter Island. Him playing Cobb, the main architect of these dream worlds that he puts together. You gotta also remember, people, in 2010, Tom Hardy was not a household name. Tom Hardy at that time was known for the 2002 Star Trek Nemesis, the movie that ended the Star Trek franchise up until the 2009 reboot with Star Trek with Chris Pine. And he was on that other movie where he's like a wrestler. I forget the name of it. But Tom Hardy was not a household name. This was the beginning of the Hardy Assance. The Hard-On Assance, if you will. He went from Inception to Warrior in 2011 to The Dark Knight Rises and Lawless in 2012. And he was in that Reese Witherspoon, Chris Pine, This Means War in 2012. Then he had that one with the dog in 2013, and, then Mad Max, and so on and so forth. So, Inception was the beginning of the Tom Hardy Assance. It was like Hardy, getting hard, getting harder, super hard. And then also we had the Joseph Gordon-Levitt Assance. We got 2 assaults going on because of Christopher Nolan. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was another one that kind of went away for a while. Like, what happened to Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Where is my boy? 10 Things I Hate About You. Where you go? Calvin. He had this movie, Inception. Then in 2011, then jumped to 2012. Oh, 2012 he took over. He took over cinema in 2012. Joseph Gordon-Levitt had, what's new? He had that bike, he had The Dark Knight Rises, another Christopher Nolan movie. He had that movie where he's on the bike, that David Cope movie where he's on the bike. He had that movie. He had Looper, the Bruce Willis movie, the Ryan Johnson film. And he was in the Steven Spielberg Lincoln. All in 2012. And then in 2013, he directed his first movie, Don John, with Scarlett Johansson. And then he did a couple more, and then he went away, now he's returning again. But yeah, 2012 was the Joseph Gordon-Levitt Assance. 4 huge movies in 2012. Ellen Page in here, when she was Ellen Page. You had Marion Cotillard. It was just coming off of Public Enemies with Johnny Depp a year prior. And this movie is fucking phenomenal. Like the cinematography, beautiful cinematography, all throughout the movie. The movie ended up winning Best Cinematography. The acting all across the board is great. Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, once again, our boy Cillian. I mean, this was his first movie outside of the Batman universe that he was in a Christopher Nolan film that didn't revolve around Batman. I think Michael Caine have some scenes in here. Every set piece is meticulous. Every shot is unbelievable to look at. It is a movie that you watch every stage that they do from the first one. Was that the one in the rain, or when they're on the, first they start out, on the plane, then it's the one in the rain, with the train coming through the street. That was all practical. In the building, in the hotel, where it starts to spin, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going on the walls and the ceilings, all practical. They have behind the scenes of they literally built that a thing to truly go around like that. Then you got the snow, the final one in the snow, or you got the whole dream sequence where we see Cobb and his wife Ma. It's how they lived an entire life together, grew to old age. It's a beautiful sequence. The opening, I remember watching the opening of the movie going, what the fuck is going on here? You got rain coming down in this building, you got everything shaking, then we jump to another thing and there's a bomb going off, guy falls into a bathtub of water, then rain is coming down in this building. What the fuck is going on here? And then you start seeing what's going on, you're like, oh, this is on another level. This is on another level. Then the whole third act in the snow felt like something out of a James Bond movie. Even the opening in this, the architecture in this kind of Asian Japanese building with Leo in a black tuxedo with a gun, like a James Bond gun. Like this movie also oozed James Bond. And it was just like, whoa. You have some great one-liners. You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling. Bigger, darling. Their dream has become their reality. No, they don't come here to dream. Their dream has become their reality. And I thought that is like, whoa. Let's face it. Or that line that Leonardo says, or the buildings coming onto each other. It's just like mind-blowing. I also love that line that Leo says to Ellen Page. You never remember how the dream starts. You're just in it. And it's true. And we've all had those moments. We all have those moments in life where we go, I can't remember if that was a dream or if that was reality. I've had those. What I mean by that is, I always go back to my sophomore year of college. Sophomore year, spring quarter, 2010, like in the same year that this movie came out, coincidentally enough. And I always go back to that quarter and go, sometimes I say to myself, that quarter had to be a dream. There is no way that quarter was so perfect that if it was up to me, if someone came to me and said, Matt, if you could live one part of your life over and over and over and over again, and never leave, which that means, that means you would have stayed in Savannah, you would have never gone home, you would have never saw your family again, you would have never saw your friends back home. Yes, you still would have been alive at the time, but what if you just stay in that moment? Spring quarter 2010. I would have easily, every single time stayed. But what about your family? They'll be fine. They're normal. What about your friends back home? That would be, okay. Now knowing where life is now, that would be the only hiccup in this whole thing. If someone said to me, if you could go back in time to one time and live there the rest of your life, I would say spring quarter 2010 in Savannah, hands down. If you were, that quarter was so great that by the end of that quarter, I came home to film a wedding for my mom's friend. And in that, I was able to ask the one girl that I spent at that time a year and a half, almost 2 years with in college. And I said, do you want to come back home with me to film a wedding? And she said yes. And we got photos to prove it. And so you can see how that quarter went so well that I was able to get the girl to come back home with me. That was a first. Also weirdly to meet the parents. People he not only got the girl to come back home with him, but he got her to meet the parents, go to a wedding, spend some time that weekend together outside of Savannah, in his hometown. It was like watching an episode of The Bachelor. But you can see from the photos, we've never seen Matt look like that. Where is that guy? We haven't seen that guy in 15 years. But then, of course, I say, but someone would say, but there is one stipulation to all of this. And I would be like, what is that? If you stay in this time for the rest of your life. Now, I'm curious if I would always think, do things change during that time? Like, we're still in that moment, but do things move forward? Maybe. Well, like I said, someone said there's one stipulation. And I'm like, what is that? You have a friend back home, and since spring quarter starts in the 3rd to 4th week of March, this is very key. March of 2010, spring quarter begins. The final quarter of the year. The quarter I would want to spend the rest of my life in. If someone said, well, Matt, you got one issue with that. And I said to them, what is that? If you stay here the rest of your life, in exactly 3 years, remember that, 3 years, you're going to get a phone call from somebody's mother. And the news is not going to be good. 3 years. So you can either stay in this lovely, perfect, normal life, finally, or you can go back home and deal with what's coming. Or you can maybe change it. What do? You stay in this normal life, this dream world, you finally have, once and for all, thing you've been building towards. Or, in exactly 3 years, you're going to get a phone call that someone's dead. What do? Oh boy. You see, the problem with that is the Matt now knows exactly what he would do. There's no question. There's no question. Then I would go to the line from Spider-Man 2. In life, we have to be steady and give up the things we want the most, even our dreams. Dreams. Hey, it works. And I think that would be an interesting debate. I mean, like the Mac now knows exactly what he would do. There's no question. It would be goodbye to that dream world. Let's go save my friend. Not just for him, but for his sister and his parents. Get him alive for them. Because I know how much it has taken a toll on one of them. So that's one of those things I'm like, I would love to live in a dream world and just go back to that one moment in college. But once again, when you live 15 years later, you go, stay with the girl that you, pretty obvious, even though she doesn't realize it, or go save your friend. Make a choice. Yeah. But I've always thought about that, like, man, that one moment in college was really like a dream. Now sometimes I'm like, no, that didn't happen. That was way too good to happen. But yeah, I mean, this movie is a great movie, and we still have the debate at the end when Cobb finally sees his kids, and he flips his little spinner top, and it starts, shaking. Is he still in the dream world, or is he in the real world? Does it really matter if he's with his kids? I think everyone in life would feel like that in general. Like, I think going back to what my whole dilemma would be, if you could live in a world where she is still in your life and he is still in your life, would it matter if it was a dream world or not? If you can have the best of both worlds collide, you got the girl, you got your best friend still here, boom, and you can live in that moment the rest of your life. No matter how old you are at that time, let's see, I would have been like 20 years old, 21 almost, 20, I would have been 20 and a half. Yeah. It makes you think. Well, like I said, this movie's great. I enjoyed going back and watching it the other night. One of Christopher Nolan's best movies. He went on to follow this up with The Dark Knight Rises, which, a lot of people have a lot of problems with The Dark Knight Rises. One of my biggest problems with The Dark Knight Rises is how many actors he took from Inception and put in The Dark Knight Rises. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Marion Cotillard, obviously Michael Caine. Even Ken Watanabe was in Batman Begins. And I think they have a cameo in The Dark Knight Rises also. Cillian Murphy came back as Scarecrow. I mean, the only two actors in this whole movie that don't show up in The Dark Knight Rises was Leonardo DiCaprio and Ellen Page. And the funny part is, they wanted to get Leonardo DiCaprio to be in The Dark Knight Rises as the Riddler. So, they almost had Leo also in The Dark Knight Rises. That movie would have been taking the entire cast of Inception, other than for Ellen Page, and putting them in The Dark Knight Rises. And that's where I'm like, this feels more like a sequel to the Inception than The Dark Knight Rises, than The Dark Knight. But yeah. Well, let me know in the comments below. Matt the Man here. What do you think about Inception? Is this one of your favorites? It's definitely one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies. Let me know in the comments below. I can't believe it's already the 15th anniversary. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment.